Disney Plus brings together fans of all ages. This podcast brings three adults who are also kids at heart together to talk about Disney Plus. Join Scott, the Magic Genie producer, Regina, the sassy Megara of the group, and Nathan, the gentle but grumpy Brit, as they bring you news, reviews, special guests, and discussions on the Disney Plus Streamcast.
Hello, and thanks for joining us for the Disney Plus Streamcast. I'm Scott Murray, and I'm here with Regina Davis.
Hello, how's it going?
Not bad. How are you?
Excellent, excellent.
Good to hear. You're looking forward to some new things hitting Disney Plus in the coming days?
Yes, definitely.
Well, they just recently released the full list of everything that's coming next month. On Saturday, February 1st, one of the first things that's going to come out in February is The Sandlot. Have you ever seen that?
Yes, I love that movie, but it's been years.
It has. I actually saw something on social media the other day, and a guy was wearing, this kid was wearing a Sandlot shirt, and he actually ran into two of the main actors, and they took a photo of him, and they shared it on social media, and then what the two actors shared was he took this photo, because they said, hey, cool shirt, you want to take a picture? And that kid didn't even realize that he was taking the picture with two actors from the film.
Oh my gosh.
So, yeah. Toy Story 4 will be out in February. Couple of others that stand out, Splash.
Yes, oh my gosh, I love that movie.
I do too. Marvel's Iron Man and Hulk Heroes United. Did you ever see that animated movie?
I did, and it's pretty good.
Yeah.
It's not one that, I'm like, oh my gosh, but it's cool.
Yeah, it's fun. I remember that movie because I was at a Comic-Con, and they were promoting it, and I interviewed Fred Tatasciore about it. And we had a really good discussion about what it takes to voice the Hulk, because you can only imagine. You got to have your voice ready for that voice.
Yeah.
Let's see what else we have. More One Day at Disney. More Clone Wars. Obviously, the Clone Wars will come out that month. Everybody's looking forward to that. Did you see the trailer for that?
I did, and it looks really cool.
Yeah. Phineas and Ferb Star Wars. That's a good one.
That is a really, really good one. I am so excited for that. Phineas and Ferb has genuinely never, ever let me down.
I know, right? There's a ton of stuff. You can go to IGN. That's what I'm looking at right now. There's a full list there and other places online. Those are just some that caught my attention that I thought Regina would also like.
Yeah.
So,
aren't those the Marvel Rising? Don't they start in February?
They do.
The one with Shuri?
Yes, and playing
That's
with
the
fire.
one I'm really excited about. Yeah.
Yeah, those come out on Thursday, February 20th. That's something to look forward to. Well, today, what we can look forward to is a discussion about a brand new series that hit Disney Plus and a classic. Well, I think it's a classic because it's it's 20 years old now. We're going to look back on The Emperor's New Groove today. What makes this one kind of different from some of the other things we've talked about is we all have seen it before. And so this was a rewatch, so we get to not only discuss what we liked about it in the first viewing, but we can also touch on the rewatchability aspects of it.
And there are many.
And there are many. But before we get to that, Regina, what do we have to do first?
It is time for News with Nathan.
Hello, my fellow Disney Plus Streamcasteteers. I guess. How are you guys doing?
So good, so good.
Regina, have you noticed that Nathan is kind of doing what Matt Moore does?
Yes, and I cannot get enough of it. I really can't.
For those of you who may not know, Regina and I also do a show that helps new comic book fans learn about the characters and where they can start reading them, called Comic Book Noob. And just about, sometimes he's not able to come up with something, but just about every single show, at the very, very beginning, he comes up with some creative way to say his first words, just like Nathan just did this week and last week, and I think a few other weeks. So, nice job coming up with something new again this week, Nathan.
Oh, I just open my mouth and hot air and noise comes out, and sometimes it's a hit and most times it's a miss. But I'm glad you guys are there for it. That's
Yes.
the important thing. And you still let me keep on coming back every week. I'm so glad you started with the Marvel Rising thing before, because my first item is about toys. And I have to tell you, I'm a big fan of that Marvel Rising because it was the only chance I had to buy a Squirrel Girl doll for myself, if I'm honest. The kid got it for Christmas, but we all know who's got that on their shelf. Big fan of Marvel Rising, so yeah, big ups. That's cool. Something else I'm looking forward to putting on my shelf at the London Toy Fair on last Monday. Funko in full force, showing off a bunch of their newly acquired Disney properties. We knew we were going to get Funko Pops to Onward, the Chris Pratt and your mate Spider-Man. What's his name? The kid. He's young.
Tom Holland.
He's Tom Holland. That guy. Yeah, I always think Tobey Maguire, but I see him in the back of my mind's eye when I talk about it. I really do. They've got Funkos coming out. Dinosaurs, which is criminally underrated, and it's not on Disney Plus, it's on Hulu, but fantastic show. They're getting Funko Pops. But two things that you can enjoy on Disney Plus right now are also getting Funkos. Basil the Great Mouse Detective, getting a bunch, and so are the Gummy Bears, and the Gummy Bears, special place in my heart. That's what we had for Saturday morning cartoons back in the UK, back when I was knee-high to a grasshopper, and I can't tell you the feels I had when I saw those. So, obviously there'll be more cool stuff coming, but that was top of my list. I'm going to have to get all of those. But to more pertinent matters, let's talk shows, upcoming shows. Let's talk Obi-Wan. We're psyched he's getting a show, but there's been some news recently that it's going to get put back, and indeed, it has hit a little bit of a production snag. Ewan McGregor has come out and said that they're going to start shooting in January 2021. However, it's supposed to be 6 episodes, going down to 4. He's still attached to it. Deborah Chow, who you remember did Mandalorian, a couple of episodes of that, she's still attached to it as well. But the press statement alludes to the fact that they've got more time to do this now and make it awesome. Yeah, maybe. But, Star Wars is kind of having a little bit of a crisis moment recently, so we're not surprised that maybe they're going to take a step away and do something with those scripts. I'll tell you, though, they had Hussein Amini as a screenwriter attached to that, and that was going to be quite exciting. He'd done, among other things, do you remember Drive? With he did the screenplay to that, and I love that movie. And he also did Snow White and the Huntsman, which wasn't terrible.
It wasn't.
And so I was excited. So we don't know if he's still attached, because they apparently tossed the scripts out and they're ready for something else, but production's still going ahead in January, so fear not.
I wonder why. I mean, if you want to change the scripts, you want to adjust the story, you want to tweak it or whatever it is they're doing, that's one thing. But it's kind of, I'm glad we're still going to get it. But man, four episodes will go by really quick. I wonder what pushes the decision to cut it from 6 to 4. Maybe it's they know what narrative they want to do, and maybe that's all that's necessary. I mean, we have talked on other podcasts before about, how sometimes some of these stories that we watch feel like they have 2 or 3 filler episodes to really get where they want to go. But that's usually when we're talking about 8 to 10. It's really kind of wild to think that a story with Obi-Wan Kenobi in it has to be reduced from 6 to 4.
And 4 just seems like so few. Like 6 already seems like a very, very small to me, but 4 just seems unheard of.
Well, the scuttle was, rumor and innuendo being what it is, that the things they had in motion for that were very, very similar to The Mandalorian. You've got, instead of the Baby Yoda aspect, you've got semi-mature Obi-Wan taking care of baby Luke from afar, who apparently is in jeopardy, and they felt that maybe the themes, so the rumor goes, were a little too close together and it needed to be reinvigorated and needed a different angle, one that didn't have the caretaker or the lone wolf and cub kind of aspect to it. But regardless, I'm sure it's in good hands. Moving along onto Marvel shows, a couple of quick hits. Megan McDonnell, who was the screenwriter for, or one of the screenwriters for WandaVision, she's been asked to write the sequel to Captain Marvel. So that's going to be, I don't know. Is it going to be good? Oh, Captain
We
Marvel,
hope
man.
so.
People don't know about Captain Marvel. You know, there's a petition on the old internet right now. People trying to get Brie Larson replaced.
Of
For
course there
shame.
is.
Of course there is. And in other Marvel,
Those guys are still waiting on the remake of The Last Jedi. From that petition.
yeah, they can add it to the list with the Snyder cut of the Justice League
Yeah,
and all that
right.
stuff as well, I suppose. In other Marvel series news, they've gone and moved up the release date for Falcon and Winter Soldier. Originally, that people had said that was in trouble, but now we're expecting to see that in August. Deadline reports that they've gone and added Noah Mills. He was on the Enemy Within, and he was also on The Brave. He's been added to the cast, and yeah, you could see that is early as August. I know that I'm kind of ready for that. I'm dying for some content. After I saw that US Agent still released on the internet earlier this week, man, I'm so hyped for that. I can't wait. Even if it sucks, I know I'm gonna love it.
I know. I feel the same way, where it's like, even if it's bad, I'm not even upset. Just give it to me.
Staying with Marvel, we had talked a little while ago about some animated shows that were set to premiere on Hulu, and these came out from under Jeff Loeb's tenure at Marvel TV. Two of them have been killed. We knew that there were some issues with one of them, Tigra and Dazzler. They lost their showrunner. That one has been wiped off the slate completely. People were a little bit more excited and optimistic about Howard the Duck. Again, gone. Finito, kaput, no more. We're still going to get MODOK, though, voiced by Patton Oswalt, and he's been doing the rounds on a bunch of interview clips on the old Marvel YouTube page this week. So that's going to be fun, I think. We're also going to get Hitmonkey, which, again, an irreverent character. It's going to be a bit off the wall. I think there might be a little bit more play around there with the script and maybe not taking things quite so seriously. But again, those two still to come. But alas, the other two, no more. That's too bad. I would have really liked to see a Howard the Duck animated. I think time is right for a revival.
Yeah, and I think Howard the Duck is something that people would want to see, especially, with his presence in the movies and everything. He is, a little bit on the mind of, Marvel fans. So I think it's a perfect time for it. And I think doing it animated is the right choice, because I think live action Howard the Duck has always been a little bit much for me.
I know people say it's one of the greatest bombs of all time, but that Howard the Duck movie is a special place in my heart. I've got to be honest. It's so much fun. Although the bit where he's snuggling up with, is it Lee Thompson?
Yes.
Yeah, I could do without that. So in other news, a little bit more formal, a little bit more serious, the 47th Annie Awards were held on the 25th, which is yesterday. We record on a Sunday at Royce Hall on the UCLA campus. Disney had a couple of heavy hitters in their lineup for this year's ballot. People were expecting great things because they had Toy Story 4 and Frozen 2, but they only came home with a couple of awards. Netflix cleaned up. Who knew? Netflix, massive for animation these days, picked up 19 awards for Klaus, I Lost My Body, and Love, Death, and Robots. Frozen 2 did win a couple of awards. Josh Gad got Best Vocal Performance and Best Feature FX for Frozen 2. Avengers Endgame won one as well for Best Character Animation in a Live-Action Movie. They can take some solace, though, as they had a couple of their top-tier Hall of Fame directors, Ron Clements and John Musker, who had done The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Moana. They got Winsor McKay awards. Winsor McKay was the guy who did Little Nemo back in the day, and his name now goes on the award for people who have just done really great things in the animation industry. So they were honored for all their great work they've done over the years. So I guess they can take solace in that. Also, at Sundance this week, Timmy Failure, Mistakes Were Made, is a movie that premieres on Disney Plus in about a week or so. It comes out on the 7th. It's taken the critics by storm. People at Sundance are absolutely loving it and saying it's one of the best kid movies that they've seen in recent years. And you get to watch it gratis on Disney Plus. So that's
Nice.
exciting. Yeah.
Love it.
And guys, that's what I have for you this week. Thank you for indulging me.
Wonderful.
Well,
as always.
Opened it up with a Squirrel Girl reference and ended with a new movie coming to Disney Plus.
I feel like we should do a Squirrel Girl reference every week. I'm there for
your challenge.
Doreen every week.
Ooh.
All of that. Bring it on.
I can't wait to see him live up to this challenge.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you guys, that would just be nuts.
That's low-hanging fruit, Nathan.
Very low-hanging fruit. Very low-hanging
You put
nuts.
me on the spot. Oh, wow. Keeping it.
I was wondering.
PG-13 there, Scott.
Well, coming up next, we are going to talk about a TV show and a movie that's currently on Disney+. We're going to talk about the first episode of The Diary of a Future President, and we're going to talk about the rewatch ability and rewatch value, I guess we should say, of The Emperor's New Groove.
That's next on the Disney Plus Streamcast.
If you are on Twitter, don't forget you can follow the Disney Plus Streamcast at Disney Plus Cast. We always post shows there and some Disney Plus news as it comes out. And we always like to let people know what's coming up when we have the chance as well. So if you're on Twitter and you want to stay close to what's going on in this podcast, we are at Disney Plus Cast on Twitter. Okay, so this is kind of fun because we are going to talk about something that we all watched for the very first time, and then we're going to talk about something that we all saw when it came out, apparently, or at least before this week we've seen it, and had a chance to watch it again, and just kind of what the rewatch was like. So let's first start off with the TV show, The Diary of a Future President. I had no expectation. I didn't know much about it other than I knew it was about a middle school-aged girl who eventually becomes president and what her life is like as a kid. And apparently you'll see nods to, I guess, her presidential qualities, as we saw in this episode, along the way. I think it's a really cool idea for a series, and I could see easily how a target audience of the middle school age would love this. Especially young girls. There's a lot there to like. What did you all think, just for your first watch?
I completely agree. I think, for the target demographic, it's a perfect product. It's really cute. It's pretty funny. The premise is interesting, because you see her as an adult, as the president in the beginning, and then you really go back to the way she was in middle school and sort of go on that journey with her. The theme song is heinous. I just, oh my God, it's all over the place. I could barely handle it, but it was pretty cute. I thought it was kind of funny. I think one of the most unrealistic moments in it was when she's an adult, she's sitting in the Oval Office and she gets a package and she opens it and it's her diary that her mother had all these years and then sent to her. But in my mind, I would have just been, my mom had my diary. I can't believe this. This is awful. But, I guess if, she's going to be the president, she's probably a little bit more cut and dry. But otherwise, I enjoyed it. I think, if you're in middle school, it's a pretty fun watch.
Oh, man. I'm going to be that guy again.
It's totally fine.
Okay, it sucked. You're right about the music. You know who did that? Emily Estefan.
No.
I wonder who her mum and dad are, eh? Oh man. I wonder if there was a hookup there perhaps. Yeah, absolutely terrible. Yeah, a really, really bad song. And I was like, oh God, I hope it gets better. And does it?
Never does.
Yeah. And that's just the music, never mind the show. In all fairness, I'm not the target for this. So I watched it with my kids. Asked one to watch it without me and one watched it with me, and they were both groaning all the way through, and they are the target for this. One's 11, one's 13. And I said, how are you finding it? And one was like, oh my God, Dad, this sucks so bad. And the other one just gave me eyebrows and was like, oh, that groaning sound. Like I had to tear them away from 13 Reasons Why or something for this. Not that my kids watch content
that
like
happy
that.
show. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I think probably my problem with it is it feels a bit too forced.
It
Like
does.
Oh yes.
It does.
yeah, and I feel like for the people who would appreciate it, who they're a little younger than middle school, I think folks like that might get a bit more out of it. People at that age range, though, probably aren't going to find enough to sort of sustain based on that first episode. And I'll give you an example how that's different. If you think about something like Boy Meets World or The Wonder Years, and I realize I'm mining pretty similar sort of territory there, but still, those shows, I feel like you can watch them at any age. But I'm just remember how much they meant to me when I was watching like The Wonder Years, going through some of that stuff, and it kind of made sense. And I didn't feel like it was inauthentic. Whereas I felt like, for example, and I'm gonna be careful here because I don't want to upset anyone. I've said before that inclusivity is authenticity, and that's a good thing to have. I just felt like I was being beaten over the head with it. Like, I get it, you're Hispanic and gay and you're Hispanic and a single mom, and like I didn't feel like it really kind of got to develop and just kind of find its own way out. Like I needed to have those tropes kind of delivered to me on a silver platter when I first started watching it. Like, oh, and you should know all this about these characters. Like, oh, okay. I mean, I credit kids with a bit more subtlety and a bit more nuance. I think they could have picked it up by themselves through just a progression of regular story arc. It just didn't need to be sort of bashed over the head with it. But, I mean, to each their own, I suppose.
I mean, I see what you're saying there. I mean, I get that impression too, a little bit. But at the same time, I'm trying to think what you could have done differently. And I don't know. I've not had to write something like this. So, and I know that you got to have the cultural aspects of it, especially amongst families where the culture is very often brought up and celebrated. So I get what you're saying, but I mean, that's just part of, what they're doing with programming. And granted, some people do it better than others, where it doesn't feel as forced, as you say. Do you have like an idea as to what you would, if you kept the same characters, but you tweak something, do you know what you would change or tweak, I guess?
Yeah, I would just be very careful just to let these plot points, because they're going to be plot points. All the characters, their backgrounds, it's going to be something you could already tell by the end of the first episode. That whole single mom thing dating trope, that was
the Cubans and Mexican family. The differences and talking back and forth. You don't have this, well, we have this.
I mean, you just kind of feel like some of this could be just drawn out over other episodes rather than just kind of, hey, we're going to throw all this at you in the first one. And that's I don't know, is that supposed to be the premise to set up what happens this season? Because now I feel like I'm not really invested in it, but now I want to watch episode 2 and just see what comes out from episode 1 and is brought into that, or whether they just do it as like another standalone thing. I just felt, as I say, the way they kind of handled the sexuality, say, of our protagonist's mom's assistant. You have to forgive me with the names. Like, I get it, you're gay, that's cool, but it wasn't kind of just mentioned and just worked in and just matter of fact. It was like, it was a conversation, and then it was like, well, you try dealing with homophobic elderly parents. Like, I get it, you're gay, dude. Like, it's cool. Jeez. And there's the same thing where I feel like they set up the whole kind of nemesis. My former best friend is now someone else's best friend, and she's a mean girl, but there's something redemptive in there already in the first episode. Like, yeah, like, you didn't want to wait on that a minute. Like, we couldn't have had like a slow build, and then there could have been like the face turn halfway through, or they're still good in him, I know it, later on. I mean, you didn't even get that in Star Wars, right? You had to wait till Empire a little bit, and then Jedi for that to like come out like properly. It wasn't just like thrown at you all in the first episode. And the dialogue, I can't speak to the dialogue because I'm not an American teen, but my kids don't talk like that. And I just felt it was just a bit too on the nose. Like, everything just like right there in front of your face. And again, I would just like it to be handled a little bit more deftly, and just kind of evolve a bit more naturally, and not just set up for like a punchline or like a story arc. Like I want these characters to be real and just kind of inhabit their own space.
I mean, I did catch myself at times thinking that too, you know, when she talked about, I love To Kill a Mockingbird. You know, the first thing I thought is, okay, you know, there's a forced line to say, she likes books, that's why she's really smart. You know, that sort of thing.
Right.
You know, that sort of thing.
Thank you. Yeah.
But I also take a step back and say, but this isn't for me. You know, and I think about, you know, how many TV shows and movies I really liked as a kid, and then I watched as an adult and went, okay, I can totally tell I had a completely different mindset as a kid when I watched this. So I try to give the benefit of the doubt. I mean, when we were talking about Noelle, for example, kids might like it was the best thing we could say about it, because even though, you know, we could say that, we even thought, even for kids, you know, it may not be kind of a winner. But I don't really feel that way about this one. The thing that stood out for me was, you know, after it was over, Jen and I actually watched it together. And, you know, she thought it was cute, and I thought it was cute. And she goes, so what do you think, you know, other than that? And I said, well, it's going to be the first time we had period talk on the Disney Plus Streamcast.
Wow, and did they linger?
Oh, my gosh.
Golly.
Yeah, and again, it was almost like it was waving a flag. Hey guys, this is for 13-year-old girls. Do you get it? Do you get it? Like, yeah, I got it.
That's just it. Well, that's the thing, because I'm sitting here thinking, is that a thing? And I guess maybe it is. You know, I mean, I'm not a girl, and I was never a teenage girl, so I can't say, you know, that didn't happen. And even if it didn't, I mean, the pressure among teens and things that are happening to them and the drama it causes as a teenager always goes up a level, it seems like, every generation. So I guess that's that's a thing. I am kind of surprised for a Disney show how much of an emphasis was on that script. I guess if they think they're keeping it real, then that's they went there.
You know, they have their target group. They have the niche they're aiming at, and it's fair to say it wasn't me. But then again, it also wasn't mine. You know, my kids didn't feel the same way, and I've got to say this as well. The nearest thing I could think to compare it to was One Day at a Time, the Latino comedy that was on Netflix that was canned and is actually brought back for season 4. They've gone and optioned it. It's going to go to, I think, a CBS of one of their side channels. And that show I couldn't watch without cringing. And I'm thinking, do I not get it? Is it just a cultural thing that I'm just not getting? But my kids loved it. They loved it. So they didn't get any of the same vibes that they got from that show for this, which I would have expected.
The other thing I would say, too, is it's episode 1. And I think, you know, there's a lot of shows where the pilot's always a bit dicey, and the show has every potential to reach where it's supposed to go before the series is up. I'm looking at Rotten Tomatoes, and they only have 6 reviews, but one of them is from Forbes, Meryl Barr at Forbes, and it says, the start is rocky, but the tone eventually comes around. The only thing to hope for now is that it remains. You know, maybe there's something there. It's only had 6 reviews on Rotten Tomatoes. It's at 100% fresh.
I saw that.
But the audience score, on the other hand, is at 53. I mean, I think the idea is great. We'll just see kind of how it goes, whether it gets renewed, and what the target audience thinks of it as it goes along.
I will say this: I love the premise. It's definitely something which overdue. You know, as a father to daughters, I want them to feel like, regardless of the opinions of where we live and how we're living and opportunities that women do or don't have. In the future, though, I want them to know that there's hope. They can do anything. They can achieve, and I think there's just really, really positive imagery to throw out there, and it's aspirational. So I'm totally on board with the premise. I just want it to be a little bit more good. Can I say that?
Yeah.
Good.
No, you can't. And see, I think that's what is sort of, you know, keeping the claws in my excitement. It's that the premise is just so good, and I don't know if middle schoolers are really ready for a slow burn. The premise is great. There's a few good lines in it, but otherwise it takes too long.
Yeah, you know, I feel like I should watch the second episode to give it a chance, you know, because I honestly, with how this was fated and sort of like built up within me, I was expecting more like The West Wing for kids, and really it's like Liv and Maddie with a bit of politics. And I probably need to watch that second one and be a little bit more confident about what they're doing with it and the direction it's going. Man, you've made me retract some of my meanness, Regina. I'm feeling all kind of sullen faced and a bit guilty over here for being so mean. I'm sorry, Disney Plus.
I have to say, at first glance on Twitter, most of the reviews, most of the people writing are loving it. I have one here that says, I really love Diary of a Future President. It's really cute, but it also talks about important topics. When they talked about grief in the second episode, see, we haven't seen that yet, those words truly got to me and made me think. Since my youngest came down with the flu, all I've done is clean things, stress, eat, watch Disney Plus, so much Disney Plus. 100% would recommend Diary of a Future President, watching Gravity Falls. This one says it's so great. A lot of people are talking about the second episode covering grief, so maybe check out that second episode.
All right. It's on the watch list.
Now we're going to talk about something that we all had seen previously, but did not need an excuse to go and rewatch. Back in 2000, good grief, I can't believe that's how long ago this movie came out. Jen and I actually saw it as part of a movie group. We found some sort of movie group online. It's just like a meetup. Like they have for different passions and things. And we found a meetup group that went to movies every week. And we thought, okay, let's do that. That might be fun, get to meet some new people. And that was the very first one. And I have to admit, going into this, I didn't know if I was going to like it, even though I kind of liked the cast. But I didn't really know what to expect because it was just so kind of out there. But I was just like, okay, what's a llama? Huh? What? I mean, I wasn't expecting to just love it, and I did. And part of the reason why I loved it so much was because how much I laughed throughout the whole thing. And I think it's definitely one of the funniest animated movies Disney's ever made. I mean, it just, the script has elements of stuff sometimes I would expect in the people that write the Lego movies. Disney always has some good humor in their stuff. I'm not suggesting it, but when you think about how in the past we've talked about, how sometimes the rewatch value of something is what you got to go through again, like Mufasa dying or kids turning into donkeys or, things happening to Dumbo or Bambi's mother getting shot. You go into this and you just, you get a good story, you get to get a happy ending. Nobody really dies, and you laugh a lot. And the sense of humor in this is just so fun. But I haven't seen it. Having said that, I haven't seen it since that time. And I remember that, I'm a T-shirt fanatic, and most people who know me know that already. And I remember I liked that movie so much I tried to find a T-shirt with it on it, and I couldn't. And nowadays, just in the last year, I want to say, I've seen T-shirts for the Emperor's New Groove pop up at like Hot Topic and Box Lunch. Pictures of Cusco saying, no touchy. And last time I was at Disney, I found one with Cusco on it. It says Drama Llama. So I finally got my Emperor's New Groove shirt 20 years later, actually 19 years later. So I was very excited to watch this. So that's kind of where I wanted to kind of start things today, is just your first experience going to see this and what you thought.
I'm in the same boat you are. I didn't know what to expect when I was going into it, but I had been told that it was funny and that I would like it. So I just went into it with an open mind, and I was incredibly surprised. I mean, I loved this movie the very first time I saw it. And then I think I saw it one more time pretty soon after. Because, like you said, it's written so well, and it's so funny, and the voice acting is so good. And it's one of those things that, it doesn't have that super dramatic stuff that always makes me sob. There are sad moments, and it is almost a tearjerker for me, but mostly it's just an incredibly fun watch. Visually, I think it's really, really awesome. Just some of the various things that they do, some of the little montages, the music I think is wonderful. And it's one of those really, really fun, happy movies that you can watch without, paying an emotional toll of any kind, really. And it's got a beautiful ending, and I loved it. So I was really excited to hear that we were going to watch it again for this show.
Yeah, it's a weird one in terms of Disney movies that came out in that decade. You think about just how sweeping and how grandiose some of them are, and this one really isn't. This one plays like, I guess, a classic Chuck Jones or Tex Avery kind of cartoon. It's got like the slapstick sort of Tom and Jerry bits. It's got the bit where they kind of do the meander around the map, and you see them going around the map and everything. It's probably the only time I can stomach David Spade. He's actually got some funny lines in it. I don't enjoy him at all.
God, that's true.
You know, I just feel like I find him repellent. But here, it makes sense. It really does make sense. And yeah, there's something about it. The design, where everything has all the sort of geometric shapes, and I don't know that it's authentic to Machu Picchu or anything like that, but it feels good. When I rewatched it the other day, I guess I was taken aback at how low-key funny Patrick Warburton was as Krunk. He gets, I think, all the good lines. And, you know, Eartha Kitt is Yzma. Oh, what a treasure. It's not the villain that she could have been, not like a Jafar or anything like that, but still really does such great work in that role. So much charisma. I just absolutely love her in that. So yeah, it was a fun rewatch. I did enjoy it.
I guess one of the advantages of going back and rewatching something all this time later is, I do have my share of movies and TV shows that I've watched over and over again so many times that I could probably do the whole dialogue by myself. But even though I watch it over and over, I'll still laugh at the things I know are coming. And I guess the advantage of having it be so long since I've seen this is I don't remember everything that was funny. I just remember I laughed a lot. So it was good to go back and laugh at this again. Is that kind of what you got in the rewatch, Regina?
Yeah, it was. And I actually brought in my boyfriend because he is not as open to rewatching things as I am. And so, I wanted my opinion and his. And we were both laughing the whole time just as much as we did last time. And, because I'm older now, I appreciated some things more. And it was absolutely phenomenal.
And yeah, the casting is pretty great. I mean, yeah, even if you're not crazy about David Spade, I don't dislike David Spade. I actually, it's interesting. He came out of that Saturday Night Live group that all had a certain shtick, and they all pretty much stuck to that even as they went into films. David Spade being kind of that blunt, sarcastic type. You had Adam Sandler and all the voices, and pretty much everything that Mike Myers did was just everything he got out of Austin Powers. I mean, he was basically making those faces and doing those voices in just about everything that he did. So this was perfect for David Spade to be this king that needed to learn a hard lesson because he was sarcastic and just would be like, I'm doing this and you don't care, and if you give me lip, I'll have something to say back, and learns a little lesson along the way. We have John Goodman in this, who's got a great voice for this. And yeah, Patrick Warburton, who's done all kinds of really cool things. I mean, he's also Joe on Family Guy, and I believe he's the pilot that you watch before you go and ride Soarin' at Epcot Center, or I guess they have it also at Disneyland. And then, yeah, Eartha Kitt. Man, I miss Eartha Kitt. First time I saw Eartha Kitt was Catwoman on the old 60s Batman series. I remember seeing her. Of course, she did a lot of things. She was a singer. She did all kinds of amazing things in her career. But as someone who was growing up in the 70s and 80s and well into the latter part of her career, I mean, I remember her in Boomerang. I remember her playing a really funny role in Ernest Scared Stupid. Gosh, you could almost visualize Eartha Kitt in the booth, just having fun with this villain.
Yes, and Yzma is such a entertaining villain to watch because she's just so crazy and kooky, and she's just absolutely awful. But then she'll have sort of more benign moments like, okay, fine, we can have a cup of coffee first, but then we have to go kill him. Yeah. and just the way that, everybody views her is just so funny. Like whenever she's first introduced in the movie, you're told, this is Yzma, the Emperor's advisor, living proof that dinosaurs once roamed the earth.
Right.
Like, that's so funny. And everyone hates her so much because she's just terrible. And she's just so fun to watch.
Yeah, I was left ruing actually the what could have been because, in the original version of that movie, she was supposed to have a much, much bigger role and was supposed to have that Scar, Jafar, that kind of maleficent presence over the whole thing. But halfway through production, it changed drastically. And she had a big song. Sting wrote a big song for her called Snuff Out the Light, where she was summoning the demon Supai to come and block out the sun. And she was backed up by three mummies called Mick and David and Lemmy, after Mick Jagger, David Bowie, and Lemmy Kilmister from Motorhead. About, she was going to block the sun out, and then when no one could see the light, people would realize how beautiful she actually was. And it's a big number, and all of it gone, really, really cut down.
Wow.
So it's amazing that they
no
got so
idea.
much out of that. Yeah, actually, there's a really, really interesting documentary you can find on YouTube and Vimeo. It's not supposed to be on there, so watch it while you can. It's called The Sweatbox, and the Sweatbox, it's named after, I guess, there was a screening room in Burbank when Walt Disney set up his studio, and it had no air conditioning on it, which caused the animators to sweat while their work was being critiqued. And so the Sweatbox is what it is, because even if you went in there feeling good, you were still going to sweat. And back in the day, I guess Sting was asked to do the music for this musical sort of thing, I should say, by Roger Allers, who did The Lion King, who said, hey, you should come on board with this. I'm doing this movie called Kingdom in the Sun, or Kingdom of the Sun, I should say. We can do for you what we've done for Elton John, and your music will do for us what he did for The Lion King. We would love to have you on there and write songs for us. And he said, yeah, okay, I'll do it, so long as my wife can shoot a documentary about the process as we go. So she got access that no one else has ever had behind the scenes in Disney animation features. And so you get to see Roger Allers, the original director of that movie, struggling with where it was going. I think by the time we watched the movie, he feels pretty good about it. And it was supposed to be this Prince and the Pauper type thing, where Kuzco, whose name was originally Manco, apparently that's a really nasty word in Japanese, so they had to change it. He was looking to sort of swap places in this sort of Prince and the Pauper type thing with Pacha, who was played much younger. It was Owen Wilson was the original voice of Pacha back in the day, and they were going to swap places, fall in love with each other's love interests. Well, one was a peasant and the other one was the emperor, and meanwhile Yzma is plotting to destroy everything and take over. There was no Krunk or any of that stuff. The sidekick was actually going to be played by Harvey Firestein, if you can imagine that.
Yeah.
Kind of, sort of the way, I guess, Gilbert Gottfried did Iago in Aladdin. He was going to do that for what became The Emperor's New Groove. Whenever, I guess it was like a year, 18 months into the production, they had to show what they had to the two execs in charge of the Disney theatrical features at the time, Peter Schneider and Tom Schumacher, and they hated it. There wasn't a script. There were just storyboards. They only animated 20% of the movie. They said it didn't work for them. They didn't like it. It had to be retooled. So they brought on Mark Dindal to co-direct. He did lots of special effects things for Disney Animation back in the day. He did a scene, the Nazi invasion scene on the Rocketeer, then left Disney and did Cats Don't Dance Universal, made a bunch of money with it. They asked him to come back. He's most famous for Chicken Little. He directed that. And they asked him to kind of help out. And Roger Allers at that point left the project. He didn't like where it was going. He poured his heart and soul into it. He thought it was going to be another Lion King. And it was going to be something just sweeping, grandiose, like we said before. It was going to have all this awesome stuff, like this amazing movie. The way he pitched it back in the day to Michael Eisner was like, oh my God, we got to do this movie. It sounds like a classic Disney movie. Whenever Mark Dindal took over, he had about a year to pull, or 18 months to pull that movie back into shape and put something out to recoup those losses, and also to make good on all the marketing deals they had lined up with Coca-Cola and McDonald's. And you even see that they have a meeting showing about all the Happy Meal toys that are coming out. And, he's under pressure. And so, they lost a lot of the special effects work they were going to do. It went, a lot of the other characters. Sting's contribution got really pared down, and he was super upset with it because he's worked real hard doing these songs. There was a song about the llamas. There was a love song, which was him and Sting and Sean Colvin on the old soundtrack. There were a few different numbers on there that got excised from that version, and instead they just had the one that he did for Tom Jones, Perfect World, and then they had the My Funny Friend and Me at the end. And the making of that documentary, I guess it was a little bit fraught with some tension because it was quite inadvertently critical of Disney and their working processes. I understand there was a lot of angst because things like Pocahontas and Hunchback of Notre Dame had really big budgets and had only delivered a paltry 350 million or so at the box office as a return, and it wasn't good enough compared to the $1 billion that Lion King brought back.
Yeah.
So they were really, really feeling the pressure to put something out there and make this money back. So the fact it got made at all and, became a cult hit after the fact, it's kind of crazy. But if you watch that documentary, again, it's called The Sweatbox. Watch it while you still can before someone goes in C&Ds it.
Yeah, it's funny how, when you get a chance to look into some of the most popular, well-known, maybe even sometimes cult movies, it's not uncommon, really, that there's these big challenges that productions have to go through to get made, and how changes sometimes actually end up being better changes than what was originally planned. I mean, granted, there's also times where, the original way they were going to do it might be better. I mean, you look at what people are saying about when the original idea for episode 9 leaked out on the internet, originally called Duel of the Fates or Duel of Fates. Mm-hmm. And the storyline for that is way different from what we got on screen, and everybody's got opinions about that. But I mean, even the original Star Wars, I mean, there's a documentary on Disney Plus you can watch, I think it's called Empire of Dreams, that shows you how Star Wars, The Empire Strikes Back, and Return of the Jedi were made. And I knew there were challenges trying to get the original made, but holy crap. I had no idea just how under the gun they got, not only during Star Wars, but after Empire, because I always thought, everything else was smooth sailing from that point on because Star Wars made so much more money than what George was expecting. I think one time he said that he was hoping to make enough to make Empire, and I thought, okay, well, clearly they did that, but no, there were huge challenges with all three of those films. I'm glad Emperor's New Groove turned out the way it did. I mean, I think it was something different, and that was, a really, really good thing. And I can see why some of those things wouldn't work in the way it turned out. I don't think, the villain here needed to be Jafar. Otherwise, I think it would have been a little uneven. But on the other hand, being the singer that she was, I think it's kind of a disappointment that Eartha Kitt didn't get to sing in it. But maybe it's because the tone of that was different from this more kind of fun take of her. And not only was she funny, I still laughed out loud when she turns into that kitten.
Oh my gosh, yes. It is so funny.
It
but
really
I am sad that we missed out on her singing some sort of big, imposing, villainous number. I didn't even know that I was sad about that until, we recorded this podcast. But I can definitely see her doing some sort of like Four Unfortunate Souls style something or other and
Or
just
maybe
absolutely
like,
nailing it.
Maybe like Mother Knows Best type song from
Ooh,
Tangled.
yeah.
Yeah, it's very much like that. And again, it's leaked on YouTube. I think it's on the soundtrack as well. It was released with a bunch of the deleted songs. You can hear it. Yeah, it makes you wonder just what they would have done with it. The artist who was illustrating her was a gentleman named Andreas Deja, who, again, is one of those Disney masters. He did Gaston and Beauty and the Beast. He did Jafar and Aladdin, Scar and the Lion King, Roger Rabbit, King Triton, Hercules. He did all those guys. He was super into drawing her and really tried to make the character expansive and larger than life. And as soon as the director changed, he quit the project. He said he wanted to work on a big film, and that wasn't big for him. He left because he couldn't get more of the characterization in there. He went to work on Lilo and Stitch instead. Again, this man carries some weight with Disney, so whenever he was like, no, I'm off, and kind of had not really a diva moment, but I guess kind of, that someone of that pedigree could still leave, and people are like, oh no, what's going to go on now? and yet you still get that much charisma out of the character, that much presence on screen. Despite that, you know you're onto something good. And as I say, it's just really enjoyable.
Yeah, so I mentioned that just, 19 years later, I finally find a shirt and finally decide to get one that's Emperor's New Groove related. I am also the proud owner of a coffee mug with Krunk talking to the squirrel, and it says "Squeaker squeaking." Because I will sometimes, I don't know what the circumstance is, but I'm kind of known for making movie references in the middle of conversations, and I'm pretty sure there's been a few times where I've said "Squeaker squeaking."
I actually had one recently. I was getting rid of a coffee table, and I was bringing a new one in from the front yard, and my boyfriend said something like, "Oh, well, we can just, just kind of shove it through the doorway." And I was just like, "Are you kidding me? This is hand-carved mahogany."
Perfect. That's also a test, too, sometimes. You want to see if the other person knows the reference.
Yeah, well, because he immediately just said, "No, it isn't." So
you were like,
I was like, cool, never mind.
You're like the white guy that Eddie Murphy was playing in Coming to America. He was like, aha, aha. It's like, come on, get it? Oh, okay, forget it. Well, I'm so glad we enjoyed that rewatch. And if you haven't had a chance to see The Emperor's New Groove, obviously the three of us highly recommend it. And if you have seen it, but you haven't seen it for a while, we recommend the rewatch as we wrap up today's episode of the Disney Plus Streamcast. Thank you all so much for joining us today. Remember, you can hit the website at DisneyPlusStreamcast.com if you want to share any thoughts about what we talked about today, or just, your own opinions about something you've watched on Disney Plus. You can do that. You can also tweet us at Disney Plus Cast. We are going to be back with a new show in 2 weeks. In fact, this show will be a little bit different, and it'll help set up the next episode. And what we're going to do is we're going to look at a couple of top 15 lists that go over movies you might have missed that you absolutely have to watch on Disney Plus. And then the other one is basically saying these are movies you should totally avoid on Disney Plus. We'll go through those lists and share some thoughts, and then at the end of that episode, we're going to pick a couple of movies from those lists, watch them, and see if we agree at all on those particular films that the author said you should absolutely watch or you should absolutely avoid. So that should be a lot of fun. And again, that'll be in 2 weeks. So thank you so much for listening to today's episode, and we look forward to having you back with us for another episode of the Disney Plus Streamcast.